This is a pile of vintage D&D modules, adventure modules. Self-contained adventures for advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Or, of course, this one's for basic Dungeons and Dragons, but they're all playable. Old school D&D adventures. A couple of them don't have covers. For instance, the Isle of Dread. This one's actually just missing the front cover. I do have the back cover. Classic adventure module. Goes with this, as a matter of fact. And then I got another one here, two more here that don't have covers on them, but both of which I think are entirely playable without them. And yeah, let's get into it. First up, we have what I think is the quintessential D&D adventure. Came with the D&D basic set back in late 70s and into, I think this edition's probably 1980, 81, something like that. This is Keep on the Borderlands. But this one came with the basic starter set. It has your full map of your adventure location, this being the Caves of Chaos. I'm not going to go into detail about all these modules. I'm just going to tell you why I'm so happy that I got them. Now, this isn't the only copy of Keep on the Borderlands that I have, so I'll probably end up reselling this one, I don't know. But this is a classic module for basic level characters. You know, levels 1 to 4, something like that. 1 to 3 is what it says here on the cover. And yeah, it's got your adventure location, being the Caves of Chaos. It's got a wilderness map here. So here's your Caves of Chaos. Here's the Cave of the Unknown. Ooh. And here's your headquarters, your base town, is the Keep on the Borderlands. This gives you a starting location, you know, where your characters can get equipped and find out some, you know, valuable information about the adventure they're about to go on. There were some notes in this one. Somebody wrote in this extensively. It starts you off pretty well. It even includes like summary of basic D&D rules here, like character attacks, monster attacks. It details the location of every like little cave and little room in this dungeon complex. Keep on the Borderlands. One of the first modules I ever played, and I'm probably going to own this for the rest of my life. Written by Gary Gygax, by the way. Now this one, I was really happy to get this one. It's the Hidden Shrine of Wachon. And this one is like an adventure in an Aztec pyramid. And this is what we would call a funhouse dungeon, just because there's so many crazy weird things that happen in here. There's a lot of traps, a lot of unique rooms, a lot of hazards, let's say. It's got a weird map that's actually like multi-layered, you know, because it shows you the different levels of the pyramid there. And this is the basic map here. It comes with a booklet of visual aids. And as you can see here, there's, of course, we get a little bit of nudity there. This is old school D&D, don't forget. And yeah, it gives you, you know, basically you would show these pictures to your players as you're running them through this dungeon, and to give them a little bit more of a sense of what's actually around them inside this pyramid. And it's pretty cool. I love this module. I ran this module out of Tales from the Yawning Portal, which reprinted this. I had always wanted to play it. I never had an actual copy of it, but now I got one, and it's in pretty good shape. There's not a lot of writing in there. It's a fairly involved adventure, but it can be resolved in probably like 3 sessions, I would think. 3 sessions at the pace that my normal D&D games go. Yeah, I don't want to tell you too much about it because anything I tell you about is probably going to spoil it for you. But yeah, the Hidden Shrine of Wachon. Then I got Against the Cult of the Reptile God by Douglas Niles. This one, I know that Matthew Colville raves about this module quite a bit. Maybe it was his first adventure he ever played or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't remember. But I've never played this one. This one, let's see, Against the Cult of the Reptile God. It's known for having a really good like base town where your adventures start off. and lots of interesting NPCs. It's also got adventure location, of course, and formidable enemies. Here's a map of the base town right here, the village of Orlane. And it's a lot of people speak really highly of this module. I've never played it. I'm in the process of reading through it and considering whether I'm going to play it or not. Now this is character levels 1 to 3. So yeah, a couple of newbies might run them through this. I don't know. Seems like it'll be a fun adventure. Then I got Against the Giants. Now this has also been reprinted and updated for 5th edition in the Tales from the Yawning Portal. I have yet to play any of the Against the Giants adventures. They just seem very difficult, if you ask me. It details giants' lairs. It's actually 3 old school modules reprinted into this one single volume. Steading of the Hill Giant Chief, Glacial Rift of Frost Giant Jarl, and the Hall of the Fire Giant King. Okay, so from what I know about these adventures and what I've read in Tales of the Yawning Portal and or skimmed through in this version, basically here's your first adventure location. Now this is the Hall of the Hill Giant Chief, and basically this is it's full of giants, and it doesn't give you any kind of story setup or anything like that. You just have to go in, kill all these giants. But no suggestions for the characters as to what to do. They basically have to stealth their way in there, assassinate giants, and find out what's going on and why the giants are all menacing society. I don't know, it's very lengthy, very high level too. 8 to 12, which I guess for advanced D&D back in the day, that's a pretty high level if you ask me. So yeah, that's, if anything, I think you should probably be a little higher level than 8 to take on all these giants. I don't know. I've never played it. Also notable by Gary Gygax. Of course, the creator of Dungeons & Dragons. Well, co-creator. Him and Dave Arneson, and I'm sure there's some other people that obviously made it possible. I got this one here. I used to own this back in the day. I got another copy now. This is Beyond the Crystal Cave. This is a bit different of a D&D adventure. I mean, there are some, typical slay the monster kind of scenes in here, or at least kind of at the beginning of it. But the bulk of this adventure is different because it takes place in this, it's called Porphyrio's garden. So it's a garden, and it's in this, bubble or whatever, and it's got all these, woods and lake and all this stuff going on in this garden. But you're not really supposed to fight anything that's in there. It's basically full of forest creatures and fey creatures and that sort of thing, any of which you antagonize or harm or kill or anything like that, you're gonna get scolded by the Green Man, who's a god, a living god of the forest or of nature and that sort of thing. I mean, the Green Man is a mythological figure from medieval Europe that shows up here. Yeah, like I said, basically if you mess with anything in this garden, including these giant sea lions, you're going to get your ass kicked by the Green Man. He's going to come in and kill you or incapacitate you or whatever, and you're back to square one. Yeah, there's an adventure inside the garden here. You have to get to a palace. It's got the Romeo and Juliet theme going on for 2 lost lovers that you have to find. It's got kind of time warp kind of thing going on in here. Time moves more slowly in the garden, and yeah, it's weird. And this is a UK one, meaning of course this was the first module released from the UK, and I think it's pretty neat, pretty cool adventure. It seems like a little more challenging than maybe some just straight up beat 'em up monster battles. I never got through this module, but I did play some of it, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting concepts in there. So yeah, this one gets thumbs up too. They all do. Come on, let's be honest. This one The Land Beyond the Magic Mirror, another Gygax module. This one is the sequel to a module called Dungeon Land, which that module was basically D&D characters' adventure in Wonderland, as in like Alice in Wonderland. Now this is the sequel to that, so it's The Land Beyond the Magic Mirror. So it's based on like those, you know, those kind of like storybook creatures and stuff like that. You meet the walrus and the carpenter. Here's Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, it's all kind of crazy, like fairy tale kind of stuff. Talking clock and that sort of thing. Sadly, I don't have the cover for this one, which I think has the main map. I'm pretty sure I could run an adventure without it and just make up the map. It's a weird module. It really is. Actually, a lot of Gary Gygax modules are kind of weird, especially like the later ones, because I think he went out of his way to kind of write more unique kind of stuff, and I think that's cool. Land Beyond the Magic Mirror. Then I got To Find a King, also coverless, unfortunately. And this one I did own back in the day as well. I think I sold it a long time ago. But I played through at least a few parts of this, and I really liked it. I thought it was unique. It's kind of like an anthology, because there's actually like 4 different scenarios in here. I don't know if I played them all, but I played the first 2 anyway, and they were a lot of fun. And you know, this is like a mid-level kind of adventure, like 4 to 7 levels. I just think it's kind of neat because, like, you can drop this into any campaign and just play one of these adventures, probably in a night. Maybe if you stretch it out, you could stretch each one of these out to 2 nights if you want to. They're pretty simple adventures. You know, there's some backstory that strings all of them together. And there's even a sequel to this module, which I don't have. I fondly remember this one. I'm glad to get another copy of it. Just sad that I don't have that adventure map that's usually wrapped around. Dungeons & Dragons Expert Rules from 1980. I have several copies of this, so this one's probably going to go up for sale. This is the Expert Rules. This takes you from basically levels, you know, like 3 and up for your basic level Dungeons & Dragons, not advanced Dungeons & Dragons, but, well, this continues from the basic level, and it has, you know, new spells in here. In the expert level spells, it has some higher level stuff, even everything up to like Wish spell is in here. So it builds upon the basic rule book. It also gives you more monsters in here, more higher level monsters like vampires and dragons and that kind of thing. More powerful magic items, and this is one of my favorite books ever published, actually. More so than the basic rule book, just because this blew it wide open and brought you all this cool new material. And I had this at a time when I was just getting into D&D, and this was my quintessential rule book right here. This one also came with, well, they all came together in a big lot, actually. I just bought like a clear plastic bag with all these modules in it. And this also came with it, but this properly belongs in the expert starter set. This is the Isle of Dread. Of course, it had a classic cover with the dinosaur on it, which is sadly missing, the front cover. But, I mean, you have your important adventure map is included on the back here. Well, actually, this is the adventure map. This is the Isle of Dread. The Isle of Dread is like kind of like, well, think of it as Skull Island with even more crazy crap going on. You don't get any giant apes, but you get a whole lot of dinosaurs. You get a whole lot of weird fantasy creatures like these little ape, monkey, flying squirrel guys. You get cat people in there. There's lots of cool enemies. It's kind of the first, or in my mind anyway, the first like sandbox D&D adventure, whereas they give you all the locations and they tell you, okay, here's what's here. Here's an adventure hook to go to the island. Here's some unique creatures you might find on the island, and have fun. Doesn't tell you what to do, but it basically gives you all this stuff, and your players explore as they would. And yeah, this is, in my mind, this is a landmark D&D adventure, and I think it's essential. So, we have the Isle of Dread coverless, Expert Rulebook, Find a King coverless, Land of the Magic Mirror, Beyond the Crystal Caves, Against the Giants, Against the Cult of the Reptile God, Hidden Shrine of Wachon, Keep on the Borderlands. Now I got all this stuff for I think $40, and I just thought I'd rave about it a little bit. But if you get a chance to check out any of these D&D modules, go for it, because I recommend every one of them. You know, I may not play every one of them again in the future, but you can. So keep an eye out for local listings. I might be selling some of these, but I'm not selling this one. This, I would have paid $40 for this one alone. Anyway, happy D&Ding out there, everybody. Have a good one.